Hello everyone, I'm Tom, and since this coronavirus disruption started, I've been hosting this vlog to eat beef jerky and connect across the internet. The beef jerky part is silly and pointless. I'm not a food critic. But this vlog has let me explore some fun ideas with you, especially regarding game design, and I plan to keep doing it. It is the 19th of July. Can you believe it? Summer is half over. The year is more than half over. You'd think it would drag on forever, but it still races by. Or maybe it's just me being old. At any rate, I think this might be the 41st episode. I didn't make a big celebration over the 40th. Maybe I should do it for the 50th. We'll find out. Okay. Sorry, itchy nose. What am I going to talk about today? I think I'll talk about something a little bit lighter than I talked about yesterday. And that is Paper Mario, the Origami King, brand new game that just came out on the Nintendo Switch. I wanted to talk about it because it's in an interesting line of Mario games that are also RPGs. Traditionally, Mario games were the very definition of real-time action platformer. You control one little avatar who jumps around a lot on a two-dimensional plane, and you traverse an environment and avoid enemies and collect items. Paper Mario, at least the original Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door set, were extremely highly regarded as RPGs, and that's kind of interesting considering that Paper Mario set out to be kind of a children's first RPG. It wasn't attempting to do anything deep. It wasn't attempting to do anything complex or amazing or challenging. But people still love it. Honestly, I just am not the target audience and the age range and all that for Mario as a whole. Nintendo kind of passed me by the time 1985, 86 came around, which is where the Nintendo NES started getting into the American market. I was deep into home computers, Commodore 64s, Apple IIs, and then the Amiga. I worked actually for a friend's little startup company in a college town, 87 to 89, working on Amiga peripherals, sound recorders, sound digitizers, and then video digitizers. And what that meant was that I was deep into computers during the time in which the console devices were taking over, but they weren't taking over for me and my friends. Every one of us were like, I wonder if I should get that. And then we looked at it, we saw what it was doing, and we were like, well, this is a tenth of the technical power of the devices we're working with now. So why should I do anything with, a Nintendo NES? And on top of that, I get itchy nose. On top of that, in the modern day, there's something called indie game developers, and there's a path, not an easy path, but a path for indie game developers to get their products onto major console platforms like the Switch, like the Xbox, like the PS4. It's not easy, never has been, but it's easier than ever. And by that I mean it was simply impossible in the 80s for an indie game developer to even get their hands on a dev kit, a version of the NES or the SNES, the Nintendo Entertainment Center system, or the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, that would allow an average Joe without many resources like me to program a game. And that was entirely by Nintendo's plan. Nintendo didn't want to fool around with the little fish, and they didn't feel they had to. In fact, Nintendo's lesson from those years was not just that the little fish were not worth worrying about, but that they needed to hire every lawyer they could to protect their ability to lock third-party developers out of their platform. And they did so. Again, I don't know how far you have set the Wayback Machine for yourself, but I can tell you that the famous 1983 Atari Crash was complicated and not. It was complicated by the fact that Atari cartridges were being made, or cartridges that worked with the Atari 2600 video game system, were being made by companies who did not have anything to do with Atari and did not pay Atari any money. Atari gnashed their teeth greatly about this, and ultimately their inability, most would agree, their inability to stop companies like Activision, much less many other third-party developers around the world, from making their own Atari 2600 cartridges, led to an oversaturation of the market. Now, that in no way excuses or explains E.T. the Extraterrestrial. It's my understanding, and these numbers get bandied about, so I'm not 100% sure about that, but on an installed base of a million Atari 2600s, they printed 4 million games. And that's just insane. Like I said, it's even so insane that I have a hard time believing it. But at any rate, what it boils down to is I missed Nintendo and its formative years. I was busy doing other things on other systems. So I didn't play Mario. I didn't play Zelda. I didn't do the key critical Nintendo things. And then when Pokemon came along, I was fascinated by its mechanics, its structure, its hotness, and its multimedia presence. But all that did was inspire me to make Battle Pets on the PC way back in time. It didn't make me want to necessarily play Pokemon myself. Though my nephews were crazy about Pokemon. Gotta catch them all, right? So I missed all that, and Mario doesn't mean to me what it means to millions and millions and millions of people around the globe. But coming back to Paper Mario, it means that I look at it from a kind of a detached point of view of what kind of game is it. I don't care about the Mario part. I don't care about Princess Peach and what's happening to her. I care about the game mechanics and things. And to its credit, I've heard that there's some very interesting and there's an attempt to be bold and fresh and interesting with the battle game mechanics of this new Mario Origami King. Enough so that I'm tempted to actually buy it and play it. I know that it's probably not my cup of tea, but I'm halfway there. I'm more than 50% towards. I guess I'll pull out the credit card, just because I want to see those battle mechanics, those complex and fresh game mechanics. And of course, that's what I live for. I love to see that kind of thing. At any rate, that's what I'm thinking about in terms of game design right now, is, fresh abstractions on battle systems. And I may have to check this Paper Mario game out. That's all I have to say about that. And you didn't come here to we'll talk about the pros and cons of Mario. You also didn't come here to watch me scratch my incredibly itchy nose. Remember, kids, don't do that. Don't touch your face. I know that I washed my hands thoroughly very recently. But even so, it's not a good idea. What we are here to talk about is beef jerky. And I'm digging around in my bag of essentially leftovers and whatever we have. And today we're going to look at Stroyo's garlic. We've had Stroyo's before, And I've actually been pleased with Stroyo's. Stroyo's is generally a very bold and flavorful brand. I'm not about the hot, so the Stroyo's mild actually turns out to be some of what I consider to be the best jerky I've tasted on this show, on this vlog. But I don't know, I haven't tried their garlic. I'll bet it's very garlicky. Knowing them, I'll bet it's extremely garlicky, and we're about to find out. Let's crack this open and see just how garlicky Stroyo's garlic beef jerky is. That piece is way too big. Give me a small piece? Yes, here's a small piece. Okay. I can already tell it's Stroyo's. StroyosBeefJerky.com. It's good. It's not too hot. Hasn't kicked me in the teeth with its spice yet. I expected the garlic to be overwhelming, but it's not. It's there, but it's not overwhelming. It's just, you know, what is overwhelming is the Stroyo's general flavor. Yeah, this is Stroyo's. I've had Stroyo's before, and this is it. So yeah, not bad at all. All right, let's look at the mailbag. First, I wanted to say thank you to my Aunt Barbara, who posted on Facebook about my last video, just to say that she saw my dad in my videos. Well, I don't know that Dad would have ever done such a thing, but you know, who knows? He was interested in technology and new things, so. But it's good to hear from you, Aunt Sis. So, and then also I got another post from, or another response on YouTube from Adam Para. And Adam says, I too am saddened by the early death of Grant Imahara. I never watched Mythbusters, though I have seen clips. I liked him in the fan-made Star Trek show, The Star Trek Continues. He plays Spock. They do a great job. After a while, you forget you're watching a fan-made episode. Thanks, Adam. And I couldn't agree more with everything you said. First off, I recommend everybody watch Mythbusters. I don't know that it's everyone's cup of tea, but I certainly enjoyed it. I got into it because I had actually really enjoyed a short series called Junkyard Wars. And Junkyard Wars was definitely my thing, because they basically just had made two teams of engineers build something and had a whole junkyard to work with. And it was very interesting to watch engineers work under pressure. And of course, I love that. So I loved that show. And then when Mythbusters came along, I was like, well, I like it when they're engineers and they build things, but you know, it's not. I don't need for them to bust any myths on my behalf. And still, you know, their show was great in many ways, and in many ways it was so. Mythbusters kind of set themselves up to be famous for exploding things, and they were really good at it. In fact, they were so focused on it that they actually, you know, got really into the danger zone sometimes. You should, if you're interested, they fired a cannonball and it got out of control and went into a suburb. And no one was killed or hurt, thank goodness. But it was a big deal. And old Mythbusters firing a cannonball that skipped around and flew a few miles and wound up in the engine block of somebody's car. So they obviously didn't intend it. It just goes to show, you know, you do what you can for safety's sake, but you're also working with high explosives. And that was something they really wanted to do on that show. I could have done without so many high explosives. I loved episodes that were about other technical issues, just as much as the bangs and the machine guns. They often did machine guns and various guns and things. And I'm like, okay, well, that's okay and all, but there's plenty of other things that I would just be just as soon them do. But in all, I enjoyed that show. and there's a lot of it. They did, what, 15 seasons, something like that? And most of it is a total blast, so worth recommending. Adam also talked about the Star Trek Continues Star Trek show, and it's if you can watch it, I absolutely think you should, because it's a blast. It's definitely a fan show, and it has to be a fan show. They have to make absolutely sure that they don't make any money off it, because they're going further than just making a show like Star Trek. They were actually trying to make Star Trek TOS new episodes. Actors that replaced Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, and Sulu, played by Grant Imahara. But what was really distinctive about that show is that the sets and the lighting especially, and the audio, and the costumes, they brought it all together in an amazingly crazy way. It was just amazing to watch. And it's still out there, and I recommend, I think you can find it on YouTube or Vimeo. Well worth watching. Star Trek Continues. Thanks, Adam. All right, well, this garlic stuff is not that hot. It did not choose to kick me in the face with hotness. It's not overwhelmingly garlic, but it is, Stroyos. It's very spicy and bold as a whole. I would recommend it. And that's what I have to say about that. So thanks again for watching. I'm sorry this nose just cannot stop itching. I'm sure it won't be that case in the next episode, knock on wood. Okay, so thanks a lot, and if you like what you see and you want to get notified the next time I make one of these videos, just click the little bell button, and you will. So thank you for watching with me, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.